This is the iPhone 17 Pro. Or at least, this is what the leaks and rumors suggest. But let's be real. Does it actually look like this? Not exactly. This year is shaping up to be one of the most pivotal years for Apple in recent memory. After last year's somewhat underwhelming iPhone lineup, Apple is under pressure. And for the first time in what feels like an eternity, Apple is shaking things up. Finally, the iPhone won't just look like the previous model with minor tweaks. This time, Tim Cook and his team are actually making bold changes. But what are these changes? Are they for the better? And is this redesign truly as innovative as Apple wants us to believe? Well, let's dive deep into the design, new features, and everything we know about the iPhone 17 Pro. First things first, let's talk about design. Because if there's one thing that people notice right away, it's how a phone looks. We've seen all the leaks. The biggest rumor floating around is that Apple is going for a horizontal camera bar, completely changing the rear camera layout. And alongside that, there's talk of a two-tone finish, something we haven't really seen from Apple in a long time. But let's take a step back. Is this really happening? The reality is, not exactly. The idea of a horizontal camera bar sounds cool on paper, but from an engineering standpoint, it's extremely challenging. Let's break this down. Why is the iPhone's camera always arranged in a triangle? It's not just for aesthetics, it's because of space constraints. For years, Apple has had to work around the Face ID module, which takes up a lot more space inside the phone than you might think. The third camera lens is placed lower on purpose, because there's literally no other room to put it. Even though the notch is gone, the dynamic island still requires internal space. This means any drastic camera redesign, like shifting everything into a horizontal bar, would require a complete overhaul of internal components. And from what we've seen, that's not happening. So if the full-width horizontal camera bar isn't realistic, what are Apple's actual options? Option 1. Apple does create a horizontal camera bar, but it's lower on the back to make room for Face ID components. We've seen renders like this. It kind of resembles a Google Pixel. Option 2. The camera layout stays the same, but Apple makes the camera bump more pronounced, incorporating the rumored camera bar as a design element, rather than a functional change. So, which one is actually happening? If you guessed option 2, congratulations, you're right. From what we've seen, the iPhone 17 Pro will keep its standard camera layout. But the rumors about a camera bar? Those were kind of true. Instead of a complete redesign, Apple is making the camera bump significantly larger, giving the illusion of a horizontal bar. In short, it's a design tweak, not a fundamental change. And what about that two-tone look? Well, it turns out this rumor was misinterpreted. The back of the phone won't have a dual-tone finish in the traditional sense. Instead, because the camera module is so much larger and darker, it creates the effect of a two-tone design. It's an interesting approach, but whether people actually like it remains to be seen. Now let's talk about materials. Some reports suggest that the iPhone 17 Pro feels lighter than expected. This has led to speculation that Apple might be switching from titanium back to aluminum. If that's true, it would be a surprising move, especially since Apple made such a big deal about the titanium finish in the iPhone 15 Pro and 16 Pro. But then again, Apple isn't afraid to make sudden material changes. This brings us to a bigger question. Is Apple still setting trends, or is it now following them? Look at Apple Intelligence. Instead of launching AI on its own terms, Apple rushed it out to keep up with competitors. That's not the Apple we're used to. Traditionally, Apple waits until a feature is fully developed before unveiling it as the best version. But this time, They launched it half-baked, refining it in real time based on market pressure, and now this design change feels like another example. Rather than innovating, Apple is reacting to trends set by brands like Google and Samsung. New iPhone changes are always exciting, but should Apple really get credit for shaking things up now after years of incremental updates? Yes, the iPhone 17 Pro will look different. Yes, it will feel new. But at the end of the day, is it really innovation? Or is it just change for the sake of change? That's something to think about. So, that's your first look at the iPhone 17 Pro. The key takeaways. The camera layout is staying the same, but Apple is adding a giant camera bump that gives the illusion of a horizontal bar. The two-tone rumor was a misunderstanding. And the phone might be lighter, potentially due to a shift in materials. Is this enough to get you excited for the iPhone 17 Pro? Or is Apple just making changes for the sake of it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe for more deep dives on all the latest tech. See you in the next one.